mean to be silly. Hold on.
Welcome to Data Firm the Real.
What up, Data Firm the Real?
I'm Kim McClain.
I'm Marcus.
What up?
So,
What it do, y'all?
welcome back. Having a good night, good day so far. We're actually going to start talking about how to come back after a drift. This one was kind of interesting because, this one had a lot of bullet points for us.
Mm-hmm.
And with our time frame, we had to kind of chop something off. Cha.
And we still may have to, depending on how this conversation goes. If we don't get a lot of interaction and engagement, then we might be able to get through all of these. But I see people having some comments and some feedback on some of these.
So, question: How did we come up with this topic? Was that was it a suggestion or something we came up?
I'm pretty sure I came up with this one.
Okay, because a lot of times people do drift,
mm-hmm.
and
we have to define that. Let's define that, because drift means one thing to some and one thing to another.
Okay, that's actually a good comment or question, because are we talking about drift as in we're in a relationship and we're drifting apart, or is it we was in a relationship and we're trying to rekindle? Because that is another.
We're talking about the latter. We're talking about we're in a relationship and we're trying to rekindle.
Okay.
Because of one reason or the other. Maybe we've had a lot going on in terms of work or a move or a family dynamic change, a family member being ill or a parent issue that has caused us to have some issues, or maybe our communication has caused an issue. So that type of drifting can lead to maybe more frequent arguments or disagreements. It could possibly lead to disconnecting. Hey, Floyd, good evening. We got Floyd 2 nights in a row. Yay!
Be special.
Be special.
So, back to what you were saying about the drifting. You know, that especially like different life-threatening events causes drift, and unfortunately, the drift is common.
Mm-hmm.
And very more unfortunately, it tends to maybe lead to divorce or separation or breakup. And those challenges are what tend to test your relationship.
I would have to agree.
So one thing, like you always tell me about your friends, your friends,
mm-hmm.
you have to go through stuff to
mm-hmm.
really be tested to see if you make a friend status. That's your criteria.
Right.
Well, the same thing in a way could be talked about relationships.
Exactly.
Like last week when we talked about grieving with your mate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge. That's a test.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've been hearing things about when a spouse or a partner gets ill and the other person dips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a big challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a drift. That's a escape or a rift or crater.
Yeah. That's something.
Yeah,
that's something.
So, but I don't want to get sidetracked on that. But the first thing we're going to talk about when we talk about a drift, in my mind, you have to acknowledge that there is a drift, because one side may see the drift and the other side don't even notice a drift, because you have to see what's going on. Like we always say, men are oblivious or don't see this, and a lot of times it's true, because we may think everything is fine and dandy. As long as the bills are paid, we got a roof over our head, we good.
Mm-hmm.
but there tends to be a drift or a disconnect. And if it's not brought to the forefront, it may not be acknowledged by it may not be acknowledgeable to both people.
Yeah.
And that's where it really the drift starts gaining momentum. So if you say, babe, we ain't vibing on the same wavelength, and I would say, like, what, first I'm just like, what you talking about? Give me some, give me some substance, give me some grounds. What is like? It's like a courtroom. What are the grounds for this argument you about to bring to me?
So this data firm the real, right?
Yes.
So we keep it real,
Oh shit.
right?
Yes.
So let's keep it real.
Okay.
So the reality of it is, I came up with this topic because this happened to us at one point.
Okay.
And when it happened to us, I came to you and I said, "Hey, we kind of drifting a little bit." And it wasn't like a bad thing, or I didn't feel like we were in this horrible place, but I could feel the some of the disconnect happening, right? And that's what happens is sometimes we ignore things that we see, either because we're trying to avoid confrontation and that's uncomfortable for us. And as we know, you want to avoid all confrontation. Okay? I'm going to put a pin there.
You need to.
So if you're dealing with the person that, oh, I don't want to deal with confrontation, and then you're trying to make sure that it doesn't drift so far that you find yourselves like, I use an analogy that I've said here plenty of times before: brick building. Some of you may have heard me use this term. And what I mean by brick building is we tend to get in a relationship and we can sometimes start to hold resentment or have issues sometimes, and we're not confronting those things. We're not having the conversations about those things. And so you lay a brick, right? And then another issue comes up and you lay another brick. And then something else comes and you lay another brick. And so I call it bricklaying because by the time you're finished laying all your bricks, you've laid enough bricks to cover your face. So your partner can't see you, your partner doesn't have access to you. Okay? And so the issue with having a drift is if you have a drift and there's a disconnect in the relationship, you can begin to lay bricks. Sometimes one partner is laying a brick and the other partner is not. Sometimes both partners are laying bricks, and it's harder to knock bricks down as they get layered, right?
Huff and a puff.
It's not a huff and a puff then because you've layered the bricks. And so you have to pay attention to your relationship. And so I had to, address that and come to you and say, hey, I'm noticing some things here. And so we need to have a conversation and we need to talk about those things. And that's where you started at number one with
acknowledge the disconnect. And until you really brung it to me, I don't always see it. I'm really like, yeah, I'm non-confrontational because one, 90% of the time, if in the confrontation you're probably going to win. I'm just gonna be real because you get that lawyer mentality where bring okay, what's the fact? Give me examples. And since I have a lack of a good memory, I'm like, shit, you know the time. What time? The other day. What happened? You did that thing. What thing? What we talking about? I'm like, oh, screw it. Because you want details. That's how you process.
yeah, because and I come in real time, right? So I come in real time and you'll say, well, the other day, such and such, and I say, well, when? And then you're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But it's just the difference. We have a very different dynamic when it comes to communication. But that's why it's important to check in. And that's why it's important to have the conversation so that we don't get to a place where we're like drifting apart and we're not understanding and we're not like, we're not like not on the same page. And so Tart said she remembers her birth. Don't speak on nothing but facts.
Boy, the gospel of what he just said. So, but when you acknowledged, because you acknowledged it and bring it to me, the disconnect, I was able to see it. And because y'all was able to see it, okay, we'll work on it. I was able to say, okay, let me course correct. You see, you're saying that you're not feeling this. Let me fix this. Because a lot of times, we like, as men, we like to say we're fixers. And we're like, okay, let me fix this. And we're going to talk about that one, another topic about being a fixer.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a double-edged sword for a guy. But because I love you, I know I can't let this relationship fall because of a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when you bring it to me, so I have to look at, okay, she's right. She's right on this. Then I have to look inward and say, hey, am I feeling any kind of disconnect? What am I feeling that I wasn't bringing to the table? Because, like I said, you may real time. I may come back a week later, like, but I forgot all the details and facts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my coping mechanism.
Yep.
My short term memory keeps my stress level down. So if you smack the shit out of me, I'll forget tomorrow. Of course, you'll never smack me, but just how I tend to forget a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the point was, we had to acknowledge it, and I can distinctly remember one time you text me. You said, once we get through these situations we're having, not saying with our relationship, the situation of lifing,
Mm-hmm.
we need to get back to doing this. Mm-hmm. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I do it. So I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that it was a disconnect, and I also acknowledge as a partner of mine, you took the right steps to say, hey, let me make sure we get back on right track. We got choppy waters.
Mm-hmm.
Let's navigate to the smooth seas. And that's part of being a partner. Area I'm weak in, you're strong. And you're going to take us to a place where I need you to take me to a place, or take us to a place.
And this is the difference in my growth, though. I mean, because I think maybe in the past, I would have just tried to blame you, or I would have been passive aggressive and not spoke up and said anything. And I would have done that whole, well, you should know thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But rather than me do that and know that that's not going to get me anywhere because I've done that before, and to really actually learn from my previous mistakes and to actually exert the energy into doing what's necessary for this relationship, because this is where I want to be, I had to have that conversation and just address that and say, even though it's not horrible, it wasn't anything horrible. It wasn't like we were running around the house screaming and yelling at each other, or we were going around not talking to each other. But there were things that were just noticeably different, and we have to stay in tune to those things to not lose those things.
Okay. First thing I'm going to say about to that comment, I'm too adorable to blame. So if you want to play blame game, once you see these beautiful eyes, you are not going to blame me for nothing.
I ain't blaming you for nothing, baby.
Right.
Floyd said, "You are one cool, smooth, accountable brother."
I'm like a Coke 45. So, but that was needed. And I had to have grown as well to accept that there was a disconnect that you say there was. Because it's easy to say, you tripping.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are you talking about? Who you been talking to?
Mm-hmm.
Where you getting this from? Uh, you eating it? Oh, you got a roof over our head, don't you? What you missing? We ain't broke. What the problem is? Shit
Mhm.
can get taken care of. Hell, we still doing this. We still doing that. Ain't no damn disconnect. And that's where we have to say, hold on. Everything is not black and white.
Mhm.
There's levels to this shit.
Hmm.
You know.
Levels to it. Hey, Keldrick, what up?
Yeah. So coming back from a disconnect, and as we said this is good because a disconnect is not an end.
Right.
It's not the end of the book.
Mhm.
It's just a new chapter we going through.
Or not even necessarily that. So in my mind, sometimes the disconnect is for the reconnect, right? It's that check in to get back to a place. So it may not be a new season. It just may be, hey, let's get back on track where we were. Let's get back focused. And again, as we started out, sometimes life be lifing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I literally was sick for 2 months. So that takes a lot, out of a relationship. I was sick and then had surgery, and so that can become a lot on a relationship. Even before that, it had kind of started a little bit before I got sick, and then with me being sick, it just kind of just added a little bit of a thicker layer to it.
Okay.
And so I think that's what I was starting to notice, and it was like, okay, let's pay attention, because if we don't, we'll be going through the lifing moment, because life is going to always life. We'll be going through a life moment, and then we'll lose sight of things. So we have to, constantly check in. So even if there is no disconnect, there should always still be check-ins, right? And I think I'm able to notice those things because we were doing regular check-ins at one point.
Right.
And so because of the regular check-ins, I can uh, more quickly assess and be like, something's off. So let's check in with each other. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what's going on. Um, because again, life is life, and we need to just check in with each other and make sure all is well, and you know what needs are being met versus what needs aren't being met. What do we need to discuss that we haven't discussed? What have I done to you or to make you feel X, Y, or Z, or what have you done to me that makes me feel X, Y, or Z? Like, let's address those things.
Right. And a big one that is not on the list, what could lead to disconnect? Comfort.
Mm-hmm.
That comfort level of you being here, or always being here, you being here, doing this,
Yeah.
is comfortable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to relax, and the things I did to get you, or the things I did to satisfy you, the things I did to make you smile, tend to make me relax a little bit.
Hmm.
And that's easy too because you get comfortable,
Yeah.
you know. And on top of that, like you said, the life thing.
Yeah.
You have so this is where I think we have to learn to also adapt. You have to adapt to situations. That's a God given gift is the ability to adapt to situations. How do you handle problems? You adapt and overcome, like the Marines say. We had to adapt. We're drifting because this is happening. Well, we adapt. And that's what we have to do is adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing you also did, which is on the list, you paid more compliments. To say, okay, we drifted. Let me make sure I pay him a compliment. Make sure I tell him how nice he looks. Make sure I tell him how I love you, or make sure you tell me like I appreciate you doing this. It was that acknowledgement that I see everything you're doing, especially when you were sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a partner when you're sick, I have to. put a little bit more on my plate. Fine. I had no, as you know, I had no problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can get stressful, but we learn to cope. My main focus was you being better, but we had to adapt. But and you also he reflected and was like, let me make sure I let acknowledge his putting in his extra work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thank you for doing this. You know, you're the best man I ever had, or you put emphasis on the positives of me, and I appreciate that. You know, I may not always say it or look it, but I do appreciate it. And if we go back to last night's conversations with Shamika, the Dark therapist, I had to also try to learn how to accept those compliments
Mm-hmm.
and say thank you. If you haven't seen last night's episode or yesterday's episode, check it out, and I'll put a link in later on the YouTube channel. But I had to say thank you, you know, and those examples you did. Guess what? I'm gonna follow suit. Like today, I'm in town, so our normal things I do when I'm in town is different from our normal outside when I'm out of town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I'm out of town, we do our morning check-ins. No matter what, it's the good morning. No matter one of us going to say good morning. But guess what? I'm in town. Well, I'm gonna still shoot my hey, good morning, babe. I ain't want shit else. I just want to acknowledge you that hey, I'm thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or things like that. Those little things I know about you that you need, or I wouldn't say need that you require. And I had to make sure I step out my comfort zone and make sure I take time to give that to you. Another example is there's certain things like one of your favorite things is be oiling your scalp.
Mm-hmm.
That's like you thing you look one thing you look forward to. Like last night, I was like, "Come here, let me oil the scalp." It was no reason. I didn't have no ulterior motives. I didn't need nothing. You wasn't under any kind of stress for real. You was just let me do it for you. And I think those sometimes hit the best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I'm trying to make sure this disconnect doesn't happen again. So I want to strengthen that bond because we acknowledged it before. And I need to make sure I stay on the forefront and like Ti said, get on my job.
But it also helps because we know like where the holes were. Don't you think? Like when you know where the holes are, it's like okay, I know what to do to repair, you know, and fill that hole back up and have something more healthy grow from that soil and from replanting there because I'm now aware of what caused the disconnect or the drift to happen. And by focusing on those things to strengthen it, it's like the garden is so much more healthier now, right? Because there's no perfection to this. There's no, we're perfect, we got it all together, we have it all figured out, which is what we tell some people sometimes. I think people tend to believe that we have this perfect thing and like perfection does not exist. I just think that we're perfect for each other and we really put in the work because we really did learn.
Mm-hmm.
We really did learn from our previous relationships. And it's one thing to say you've learned, it's another thing to put it to practice. And again, that doesn't make our relationship perfect or us as individuals perfect. It just means that we believe that this relationship is important enough to invest all the effort and all the time that it requires to come out on the other side successful.
Yep. We had to go through that shit to fertilize the soil, right? That shit
Pretty
fertilizes the
much.
soil.
Pretty much.
And I know there's several people out here on the chat. If you ever seen a disconnect, or if you heard of a example of disconnect, put it in the chat, put it in the comments. I'm curious because I want to see what other people had, what kind of things other people hadn't witnessed before. Um, we're going through our own example because that's what we can do.
Hmm.
We also, from our own previous relationships, we know the downside of not addressing a disconnect. You know, now,
Before you go on, and I didn't say this early on, so if you hear a nugget drop, please, hashtag and put the nugget that you feel like was just dropped that lets us know that you are here with us and you're present with us and that we're not talking to the camera.
oh, I could
We
talk to.
don't we don't care about talking to the camera, but we would love to engage with you all. So drop a hashtag, let us know what nuggets have been dropped or are getting dropped that's resonating with you or that you're connecting with. And if you're coming back to watch the replay later, we would love to see hashtag replay. All right, babe. Next.
Um, yeah. So one of the things I really thought about, and I know you agree with me because you thought about it as well. We talked about something else. You gotta respect each other's growth, or respect each other's, not I won't always say lack of growth, but the rate of growth
Mm-hmm.
and the direction. Because even though we spending our life together, we still having our own separate experiences. We
Mm-hmm.
still have our own separate thoughts. No, these things right here lead to which way we are doing this.
Yeah.
And that growth is important and recognize it. So if you're growing at an exponential rate, guess what? There goes that disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, it's like me and you driving.
Hashtag growth.
Right
Yep.
on. So it's like me and you driving two separate cars, trying to go to the same destination. Who gonna get there first?
Me.
Yeah, because you don't know the speed limit.
No,
Um,
you don't know the speed
you don't know the
limit.
speed limit. You disrespectful
At
to
least go the speed
you
limit, bro.
disrespectful of the law.
I am the law.
But at the end of the day, I want to make sure we both get to that destination. And I gotta respect how you drive. You respect how I drive. And that's what I'm talking about. Respect each other's growth. You know, because you're maybe at a different stage in your life, and I gotta respect that. Especially if I want to be a part of your life. You know, you're going through this thought process, I'm going through this thought process. Though
Mm-hmm.
you may be more about financial right now, and I may be more about emotional at this stage. But we gotta come together and
Mm-hmm.
understand that because let's go about respecting each other's growth. We gotta respect that because
Yep.
if we don't, that growth is gonna become a disconnect.
Yeah, and that growth is gonna, cause the distance to
Mm-hmm.
happen, because as you just pointed out, if one person is here in their growth and the other person is like not necessarily not growing, but just it could be a pause moment for that other person. It could be a reflective moment for that person. So they may not be in the same place, and when that happens, it does cause it can cause some discomfort in the relationship. It can cause some disconnect because one person is going in this direction and the other person is going in that direction. And when you do that, especially without communicating, especially without talking to your partner and saying, hey, this is kind of what's going on with me. Like, I know that I am. I'm definitely in this metamorphosis space in my life where I'm just kind of really figuring out some things in life, and I'm really transforming into something different, and trying to become something different. And so I'm still like in this wrestling a little bit
Mm-hmm.
with myself as I go through this metamorphosis. And I know, like, I believe early on as I was describing this to you, like the look on your face was like, what? I don't understand what you're talking about. But you respect it and you go with it because it's my journey. And you're on this journey with me, but that's not your journey. It's my journey. So I have my own individual thing that I'm still doing. Even though we have things that we're doing together collectively as a couple, I still have my own journey, just like you have your own personal journey. So we have our personal journeys, and then we have our journeys together as a couple. So, and I think that's another way that you can maybe disconnect. And we didn't have that on the list, but you know, you are supposed to merge together, but you're still supposed to have your own separate thing to an extent too. Like you probably will never be as big of a poetry fan as I am. You probably will never be as big of a reading fan as I am, but that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so I may not be into electronics ever the way that you are. I'll probably never be able to look at something and fix it the way that you can. But your journey is yours and mine is mine. So,
So let's stop there for a second. With that journey and respecting the journey, the one thing I thought about just now is that's also a quick way to get into an argument or disagreement. Because, like, for how you saying you're wrestling with this, you're doing this, and I'm not there. And you said I had a look on my face. What now? What if I said, what the hell are you talking about?
mm-hmm,
Why you coming up with this? What they got to do with anything? That don't make any damn sense. How would that be received?
right.
So now the walls are coming up.
Mm-hmm,
Now you don't want to share. You
yeah.
you like now you think I don't, which is not. I am. I'm not trying to understand what you're going through or any of that.
Mm-hmm,
Instead of me like looking like, okay, let me try to understand what she's going through. Instead of me, and I'm trying to respect what you're going through,
mm-hmm,
and also this is a key to me. Falling back if I don't understand it fully because I chose wisely for a partner, it's never to the detriment of the household. It's always going to be for the betterment for us,
mm-hmm,
you, but never it's going to be against our what we got going, growing, built. None of that. So if I don't understand shit else, understand that your loyalty to our relationship and our home is always first, ironclad, intact. That's never in jeopardy for
mm-hmm.
in your growth. And that's why I always got to make sure I remember that because don't understand what you mean. Like you may say a poem about I don't this that and the other, and I may not know. Huh, good, that's good, babe. But I know it's up. But at the end of the day, if I don't understand nothing about that poem, it's always going to be respectful to us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I had to make sure I point that out because that's part of growth,
Mm-hmm.
individual accountability, and understanding this is not going to lead to a disconnect. Your growth, I have to make sure I support you, and that's one of the things that you love about me is that I'm always going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
All
We
right,
got hashtag merge together. Absolutely.
kill it with the
That's
hashtag.
what's up, Missy.
Yeah.
We appreciate the support.
All right. So now let's talk about trying new things. Let's be fun with it. Guess what? We ain't trying to.
Hashtag support. Yep.
We gotta
Sandra,
disconnect.
hey,
Hey, oh,
what up?
shout him out again.
What up to the Campbells?
All right, and everybody else is on here. So try new things, because one of the things I love. You know what I like to do. I'm always going to experience something new with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always want to be your first. Oh, I went here with him first. I did this with him first, and vice versa. Let it be. Try new things. You know, we're in a relationship, or we've been in a relationship. Guess what? We have things in common. You know what we like. You know what I ain't gonna do. Like, you may say, let's try some new things. But what you ain't gonna do is say, hey, for the new thing, let's go get on a roller coaster, because I ain't getting on one. No. But we try new things. Um, Even out the box things.
Mm-hmm.
But part of being a partner, what I'm willing to do and what I ain't gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the things I know that you ain't gonna do. I know, like, we both like food, but I know my limitation when I'm gonna try to get you to eat. And cause I already know your answer. I said, babe, I'll bring you this. You know I ain't gonna eat that. But your ass gonna be, go ahead, you eat it. And watch it. And I know how you are. If it don't taste good, see, you try to eat that nasty stuff. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Yeah, because you're the trier of stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah,
You'll try almost anything, and I'm a little bit more. That's brand new. Ain't no reviews. I don't know,
I mean, why not?
because it's spending money, and I don't like to spend money on things that I may or may not enjoy.
It's an experience.
That's your experience,
I
sweetie.
mean, come on.
It's your experience. I love you for that, though.
I appreciate it. I just know I can't take you there. I can't take you there in the Waffle House.
Nope. Don't take me to no Waffle House.
Damn. I ain't been to Waffle House in so long.
Man, you can go there anytime you want. I'm just not going with you.
Oh, come on, man. I promise that one tooth that lady missing ain't in your food.
I'm good.
All right.
Some things I've experienced in life, and I don't need to experience anymore. Keltrick said he'll go with you. See?
Don't worry. It's in the works.
Good. Y'all get that planned out.
Hashtag Waffle House. She like, hell no, it's Waffle House. So.
And I ain't even bougie. But I ain't doing the Waffle House. What
was the last comment?
You heard me.
My microphone, my headset messed up.
Move on, sir. Move on.
We about to have a
right. Hell no to Waffle House.
We about to have a whole brand new disconnect.
Hell no, I ain't going.
You don't protest no Waffle House. Santa go to Waffle House. All right. How about this one? I'm gonna you do this one, baby, about writing each other a letter.
So the next one is, if you all are having a disconnect in the relationship, you drifted apart, write a letter. And this actually was a recommendation from my therapist, to write a letter to your partner. If you guys are going through a drift or some difficulty in the relationship, write a letter. Now, she suggested that we sit back to back and have read the letter to each other. We didn't do that. We sat across the bed from each other and read the letters to each other. But it was so powerful, y'all. It was so powerful. And the reason why it was powerful is, I think sometimes when you're in the moment, maybe your feelings are hurt, or you feel, probably just a little overwhelmed by everything. by writing the letters, you know, everybody knows when Marcus talk, if he gets to talking fast, y'all already know.
Yeah,
It's
boy.
gonna be some stuttering, right?
I can distinctly hear you saying, "Spit it out." I'm like, shit, I am.
So the letter writing was effective and really good because,
And challenging.
but you did good.
Yeah.
Like you really did good. I felt like you being able to read from it versus in that moment, you know, as I'm asking questions or we're trying to have that talk, it was like, okay, I've had time to gather my thoughts. I've had time to, you know, figure out what it is I want to say. And it just came through beautifully, you know? It came through beautifully. So I think if you're going through a disconnect, if you're having some moment of drift, I would suggest that you do that. Again, that was something that was, I don't take credit for that. That was something that was recommended by my therapist to do. And it was a very truly effective thing. Tort said, spit it out. And Tort know I said it. He know his sister just is ignorant sometimes. Spit it out. I was like, babe, spit it out. Come on.
Yeah. So, why it was challenging for me, um, because when I write, my mind moves faster than the pen. So, as everybody know, you're the writer in the couple in this relationship. So it's a little bit more challenging because I'm trying to write it, and I'm looking at you going down, but I had to stop, pay attention to myself, and
You was
actually,
looking at me writing.
yeah, you were like, God, dog. I ain't never seen paper go on fire, catch on fire from a pen. But but the key for people who like me, focus on what you want. Just focus on your paper, and you're the only one reading it. So, because you're reading it, the message that you want to convey is sent perfectly because it's your message, your voice, and there's no misunderstanding because it's written out as legible as possible, and we can actually say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want. I hear you." And also, what I had to do is make sure by not looking at you, I wasn't in competition with the length or all the things you were coming at.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 10, I only have 3. That's what it is. You know?
But also, I want to point out, like, the letter was not to be used as a weapon against each other. It wasn't used to, like, attack one another. The letter was to just, like, pour into each other and to love each other. And I think that was the part that was very effective because sometimes people want to complain. You know, you want to go from having the conversation and complaining to each other in that moment to, well, I'm going to write out my grievances. It's like, no, that's not what we need to do in this moment. It's let's have a moment to like kind of sit and think through these things, get it on paper, and be able to share it, you know, with the person.
Right. And I think we might need. I think at least probably once or twice a year, we might need to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember.
For maintenance purposes.
Maintenance, because
yeah,
I think it really was, and because like you pointed out earlier, I'm not real time.
Yeah.
So I'm able to draw on history.
Mm-hmm.
That moment in time, and that's acceptable at that moment by drawing on history and mixing it with current emotions and getting the whole picture painted for you.
Yeah.
Instead of you getting snippets and fit, or I'm getting snippets of you and I'm filling in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that?
So Cassandra said, just make sure reread and reread the letter before you give or read to each other. Yeah, that's good. And Misi said, hashtag pour into each other. Yes.
And I did read and reread because I misspelled some words. I missed some words. I had to sound some words out. So next time we do it, I think we should do it on with spell check on the phone or
Well,
Microsoft
it
Word.
didn't matter because we didn't give each other the letters. We just read it to each other. Remember?
Okay, yeah, I remember that part, and I struggled because I missed some words. Like, what the hell was I trying to say?
You actually did good.
Yeah, but it's something I was like, definitely. So I
You
have.
did. You did good. I
Thank
think you're
you,
not giving yourself the
thank you.
credit
Wait,
that
wait a
you
minute. I can think about
need to
last
give.
night. Thank you.
Yeah, give yourself the credit. Like you did good. You did better than you would do like in just a in the moment thing because you don't really like in the moment things, so you kind of need that time. And so I think that's another important thing, when you notice a drift, like pay attention to your partner's personality traits and characteristics, because sometimes you want them to be like you and you want them to do things the way that you would do it, but that's not how it's going to be. You're two different people. You come from two different backgrounds. You have different communication styles and ways about you. And you just have to respect that.
That's key
Yeah.
because we, like you said earlier, we communicate different. We think different.
Mm-hmm.
On be honest with you, on paper, hell, in real life, we're complete opposites.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that's our magic. But I had to adapt to the way you think. So another thing that we talked about was about kind gestures. You know, the little gifts or things like, hey, little things that make you feel good, like the compliments we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want to equate that back to the love languages we talked about 2 years ago when we first started this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And and the thing about that is, guess what? I was thinking like sometimes maybe I'm wrong. Or somebody asks you, I think a person's language can change.
It can. We talked about that.
Yeah, see,
Yeah. It can change over time.
and man, that's one thing that might need to be addressed in that disconnect because
Mm-hmm.
when you still trying to love on you in 1992's method, and you hear you're 2023, it changed. So what you're requiring to be happy is not the same.
That would be good for our people that have been in relationships for a long time. Uh, you guys, if you want to engage and you want to give us feedback on this, we would be interested to know for those that have been together for a long period of time. And when I say a long period of time, years, whatever those years are. If you've been with your partner for years and you have found that your love language has changed, do you communicate that to your partner? Do you just assume that your partner knows that? How do you all deal with that? Do you just change it and, you know, no conversation is had? Like, how do we do that? Because that's a good point of conversation to have. Like,
Yeah.
you're switching your love language, and it's not like you're doing it on purpose. It's just, your needs over time might change. I might need more. And the prime example is when I was sick, right? When I was
Okay.
sick, my love language may have changed to more acts of service because I was sick and I couldn't do a lot of things for myself. And so my focus during that time was definitely more acts of service,
Hmm.
which acts of service is not at the top of my list normally. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not at the top of my list normally, but I think if dynamics change and as life is lifing, that can become a different dynamic in your relationship. So, um, Misi said you must communicate. Cassandra said we had conversations. So, yeah, I think that's the common theme here is just having that conversation and how people get into the danger of drifting if you're not careful. And that this is the reason we have this conversation is because the danger of drifting without the conversation is the demise. So if you find yourself drifting in your relationship, you have to communicate. You have to take a step back and invest some time in your relationship so you don't get to the demise. Because that's how people who are married get to divorce. That's how people who are in relationships get to the disconnect, which leads to the breakup. So it's important that, we continue to have those conversations. Cassandra said sometimes a disagreement will bring this to light for a conversation. Yeah.
It really will,
Yep.
because it goes back to where we saying, you know me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's like I may more so I would need to communicate. You need to communicate that to me than I would communicate it to you. Not saying I don't need to communicate it to you. I communicate it to you. The reason I say that because you're a studier, you're an observer. You like to study me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you like to see how I move, what makes me happy, how I tick. That's where I need for you to just tell me and let me course correct because I may miss certain clues that you are. It's not like intentional clues, just how your movement clues are. Where let's say for instance, I know purple is your favorite color,
Mm-hmm.
so everything you get generally, I won't say everything, a lot of things you get gonna have a purple to it. But what if I started noticing more yellows? And she showed getting yellow again. So then I'm like, okay, I may not notice it, but your favorite color probably is changing,
Mm-hmm.
and I may miss that clue. And you did say, hey, babe, I think I like yellow, babe, better than purple now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to accept
Yeah.
that. I said, okay, okay, noted. Let me get you some yellow flowers now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because you understand who I am, and I'm understanding more who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So now this is where this one next one I'm about to talk about. We both agree on it, but I looked at it a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Was the physical, or to me, when I think we're trying to get disconnect, I'm thinking I shouldn't be focused as much on sex. I think I need to be focused on the intimacy more, and I'm not shouldn't be thinking about sex because I just be honest, sex is not my motivational factor in my relationship. It's great. It's like ice cream, but it's not the protein of relationship. So I think when you come back from disconnect, I need to get to the more intimacy. But what's the things that feed you emotionally? How you like to be touched? Like when I was talking about oiling your scalp.
Mm-hmm.
That's a form of intimacy I've had to learn about you. That puts you in that sensual place, that nice relaxed place. When we did that topic last year about intimacy versus sex,
Mm-hmm.
it made me realize the importance of it. And when you try to get back from that disconnect, I need to make sure that intimacy is on the forefront. Like you told me earlier, yeah, it can lead to sex, but that shouldn't be my priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if we have a disconnect, this ain't makeups to breakups. So let me just, I don't mean to be sound kind of vulgar, but let me just give her some D. She'll be all right. That don't work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the cure all.
Yeah, and I don't think we were necessarily on a different page there. I just said that if it is physical,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think it's about just reconnecting with your partner and finding out what that may be. It may be a desire for more intimacy. It could be a desire for more sex. It could be a desire for trying something new. It could be, it could be a number of different things, but I think you have to be open to that and you have to have that conversation
got it.
You see what I'm saying?
I got it. It just clicked like that. Because even our sexual needs change, like the love
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to, and that could cause a disconnect because you're not giving me the sexual things I'm looking for at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be communicated.
Right.
You know, wow, it just hit me. Thank you. You know,
Yeah, that's all I was saying. I was saying, however you
I mean, I
need to
understand.
get there.
I thought I understood what you were saying, but you just gave it to me in a different light. You know, wow. So it just opened a whole new thing about the sex world.
Yeah.
You know.
When we had our meeting, we kind of brushed through that part.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We may need new safe.
Hashtag open. Yep.
Hashtag safe word. Uh,
Safe word. Okay.
oh, so, but wow. But anyway, but yeah, the touching, the physical, the sexual, because when the disconnect really starts getting farther and farther, the touch gets less and less. The physical is less and less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what
So we
happens?
know that's a factor.
Right. So it is, and you think about it, it's like, is she not interested anymore, or he's not interested anymore? Then, let alone if you got an overactive imagination, is there somebody else
Mm-hmm.
who you messing with? So now it leads to mind of wonder for no, possibly for no reason. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
is he getting it somewhere else?
Yeah.
You know,
So now you're talking about a whole nother issue. Like you going down a whole nother.
the rabbit hole was deep.
Yeah. But when you're in the drift, that can definitely happen.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful about that. And I think at the end of the day, it's about staying open and communicating with your partner, and of course being vulnerable enough to have those open, honest conversations, because ultimately that is what is going to help save the relationship from it falling apart. Keeping that communication open and catching it early. Like last night, Shamika and I talked about red flags, and I mentioned, when the yellow light is flashing, that is an opportunity for you to take inventory and do a check-in. So when there's a drift, the yellow light is blinking. That is an opportunity to check in and not get to the point where you get to the red and want to quit and want to stop and want to be done. Check in at the yellow blinking light. And because we have 2 minutes left, what's the last one, babe?
Counseling. You know, on this channel, we'll always go promote counseling, therapy, anything
Mental health.
mental health. I was just gonna say that. I got a little stuck. You know, there are people out there who are trained to deal with this drift. Let them just exercises like what she was talking about, the letters. Those are exercises. There's things that can cause to close that drift, and they are professionals who are designed to do that. And at the end of the day, why not? If you're already drifting, what's gonna hurt? You love that person. Why would you take a chance of losing them on a drift that maybe all you need was a handout? Put your hand out for a counseling goal, and the communication gets open. You know, let that door, let the counselor be the doorman. Open the door. I think that about sums it up. Any more comments?
No more comments. If you all don't have any questions or any comments, I'll give you guys a few seconds because of the delay, but we do want to thank everyone for attending. We want to thank everybody for their participation this evening. This was a great conversation. I think that you all really were present and you showed up, and uh, we definitely want to hear from you if you come back and watch the replay about what your thoughts are about this conversation, what you would add to the conversation. And remember, we are still looking for suggestions on topics. So if you have any suggestions, you want to add, different things to this conversation, please do so. Okay? We would love to hear from you.
Okay. We're not going to tell you about it now, but we're working on some other things in the near future. Things that we need to talk about. So look out for it. Make sure you tune in every other Tuesday for our conversation with a therapist, our therapist, which you look out on the YouTube channel or not. Yeah, YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe. Tell others about it. Let's keep the movement going.
Yep.
Anything else, babe?
That's it. As always, we appreciate you all. I didn't see any closing comments. So
All right, we out.
until next time, peace.
What she said.